The wife of a rich man fell sick, and when she felt that her end drew nigh, she called her only daughter to her bedside and said, "Always be a good girl, and I will look down on heaven and watch over you." Soon afterward she shut her eyes and died, and was buried in the garden, and the little child went every day to her grave and wept, yet always good and kind to all about her. And the snow spread a beautiful white covering over the grave, but by the time the sun had melted away again, her father had married another wife. This new wife had 2 daughters of her own that she brought home with her. They were fair in face but foul at heart, and now was a sorry time for a poor little girl. "What does a good-for-nothing thing want in a parlor?" said they. "They who would eat bread first should earn it. Away with the kitchen maid." Then they took away her fine clothes, gave her an old gray frock to put on, laughed at her, and turned her into the kitchen. There she was forced to do hard work, to rise early before daylight, to bring the water, to make the fire, to cook, and to wash. Besides that, the sisters plagued her in all sorts of ways and laughed at her. In the evening, when she was tired, she had no bed to lie down on, but was made to lie by the hearth among the ashes. And then, as she was of course always dusty and dirty, they called her Cinderella. It happened once that the father was going to the fair and asked his wife's daughters what he should bring them. "Fine clothes," said the first. "Pearls and diamonds," cried the second. "Now, child," said he to his own daughter, "what will you have?" "The first sprig, dear father, that rubs against your hat on the way home," said she. Then he bought for the 2 first fine clothes and pearls and diamonds that they had asked for. And on his way home he rode through a green copse. A sprig of hazel brushed against him and almost pushed off his hat, so he broke it off and brought it away, and when he got home he gave it to his daughter. Then she took it and went to her mother's grave and planted it there, and cried so much that it was watered with her tears, and there it grew and became a fine tree. 3 times every day she went to it and wept, and soon a little bird came and built his nest upon the tree, and talked with her, and watched over her, and brought her whatever she wished for. Now it happened that the king of the land held a feast which was to last 3 days, and out of those who came to it, his son was to choose a bride for himself, and Cinderella's 2 sisters were asked to come. So they called her up and said, "Now comb our hair, brush our shoes, and tie our sashes for us. We are going to dance at the king's feast." Then she did as she was told, but when all was done she could not help crying, for she thought to herself she would have liked to go to the dance too. At last she begged her mother very hard to go. "You, Cinderella," said she, "you who have nothing to wear, no clothes at all, and who cannot even dance, you ought to go to the ball." When she kept on begging to get rid of her, she said at last, "I will throw this bag full of peas into the ash heap. If you have picked them all out in 2 hours' time, you shall go to the feast too." Then she threw the peas into the ashes, but the little maid ran out the back door into the heaven and cried out, "Hither, hither, through the sky, turtle doves and linens fly. Blackbirds thrush and chinniff gay, hither, hither, haste away. One and all come help me quick, hasty, hasty, pick, pick, pick." Then first came 2 white doves flying in the kitchen window, and next came 2 turtle doves, and after them all little birds under heaven came chirping and fluttering in and flew down into the ashes, and the little doves stooped their heads down and set to work, pick, pick, pick. And the others began to pick, 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 and picked out all the good grain and put it in a dish and left the ashes. At the end of 1 hour the work was done, and all flew out again at the windows. Then she brought the dish to her mother, overjoyed at the thought that now she should go to the wedding, but she said, "No, no, you kitchen slut, you have to no clothes and cannot dance, you shall not go." When Cinderella begged very hard to go, she said, "If you can in 1 hour's time pick 2 of those dishes of peas out of the ashes, you shall go too." And thus she thought she should at last get rid of her. So she shook 2 dishes of peas into the ashes, but the little maid went out into the garden at the back of the house and cried out as before, "Hither, hither, through the sky, turtle doves and linnets fly. Blackbird thrush and chinniff gray, hither, hither, haste away. One and all come help me quick, hasty, hasty, pick, pick, pick." Then first came 2 white doves at the kitchen window, next came the 2 turtle doves, and after them all the little birds under heaven came chirping and hopping about, and flew down about the ashes, and the little ducks put their heads down and set to work, pick, 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 and then the others began pick, pick, pick. And they put all the good grain into dishes and left all the ashes. Before half an hour's time all was done, and out they flew again. Then Cinderella took the dishes to her mother, rejoicing to think now she should go to the ball. But her mother said, "It is all of no use, you cannot go, you have no clothes, and cannot dance, you would only put us to shame." And off she went with her 2 daughters to the feast. Now when all were gone and nobody left at home, Cinderella went sorrowfully and sat under the hazel tree and cried out, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." Then her friend the bird flew out of the tree and brought a gold and silver dress for her, and slippers of spangled silk, and she put them on and followed her sisters to the feast. They did not know her. They thought it must be some strange princess. She looked so fine and beautiful in her rich clothes, and they never once thought of Cinderella, but took for granted that she was safe at home in the dirt. The king's son soon came up to her and took her by the hand and danced with her and no one else, and he never left her hand. But when anyone else came to ask her to dance, he said, "The lady is dancing with me." Thus they danced till a late hour of the night, and then she wanted to go home, and the king's son said, "I should go and take care of you to your home," for he wanted to see where the beautiful maid lived. But she slipped away from him unawares and ran off towards home, and the prince followed her, but she jumped into the pigeon house and shut the door. Then he waited till her father came home and told him about the unknown maiden who had been at the feast that hid herself in the pigeon house. But when they had broken open the door, they found no one within, and as they came back to the house, Cinderella lay, as she always did, in her dirty frock by the ashes, and her dim little lamp burned out in the chimney, for she had run as quickly as she could through the pigeon house and onto the hazel tree, and had there taken off her beautiful clothes and laid them beneath the tree, that the bird might carry them away, and had seated herself amid the ashes in her little gray frock. The next day, when the feast was held again, and her father, mother, and sisters gone, Cinderella went to the hazel tree and said, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." And the bird came and brought a still finer dress than the one that she had worn the day before. And when she came in it to the ball, everyone wondered at her beauty, but the king's son, who was waiting for her, took her by the hand and danced with her. And when anyone else asked her to dance, he said as before, "This lady is dancing with me." When night came, and she wanted to go home, and the king's son followed her as before, that he might see into which house she went. But she sprang all away from him at once into the garden behind her father's house. In this garden stood a fine large pear tree full of ripe fruit. Cinderella, not knowing where to hide herself, jumped up into it without being seen. Then the king's son could not find out where she had gone, but waited till her father came home and said to him, "The unknown lady who danced with me has slipped away, and I think she might have sprung into the pear tree." Father thought to himself, "Can it be Cinderella?" So he ordered an axe to be brought, and they cut down the tree, but found no one upon it. When they came back to the kitchen, there lay Cinderella in the ashes as usual, for she had slipped down the other side of the tree, carried her beautiful clothes back to the bird at the hazel tree, and put on her little gray frock. The third day, when her father and brother and sisters had all gone, she went into the garden and said, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." Then her kind friend the bird brought a dress still finer than the former one, and slippers which were of all gold, so that when she came to the feast no one knew what to say for wonder at her beauty. And the king's son danced with her alone, and when anyone else asked her to dance, he said, "This lady is my partner." Now when night came, she wanted to go home, and the king's son would go with her, and said to himself, "I will not lose her this time." However, she managed to slip away from him, though in such a hurry that she dropped her left golden slipper upon the stairs. So the prince took the shoe and went the next day to the king his father, and said, "I will take for my wife this lady that the golden slipper fits." Then both the sisters were overjoyed to hear this, for they had beautiful feet, and had no doubt they could wear the golden slipper. The eldest went first into the room where the slipper was, and wanted to try it on, and the mother stood by. But her great toe could not go into it, and the shoe was altogether much too small for her. Then the mother gave her a knife and said, "Never mind, cut it off. When you are queen, you will not care about toes. You will not want to go out on foot." So the silly girl cut her great toe off and squeezed a shoe on and went to the king's son. Then he took her for his bride and set her beside him on his horse and rode away with her. But in their way home they had to pass by the little hazel tree that Cinderella had planted, and there sat a little dove on the branch singing, back again, look to the shoe. The shoe is too small and not made for you. Prince, prince, look again for thy bride, for she is not the true one that sits by thy side." Then the prince got down and looked at her foot and saw the blood that streamed from it, for what a trick she had played on him. So he turned his horse round, brought the false bride back to her home, and said, "This is not the right bride. Let the other sister try and put on the slipper." Then she went into the room and got her foot into the shoe, all but the heel, which was too large. Then her mother squeezed it in till blood came, and she took her to the king's son, and he set her as his bride by his side on the horse and rode away with her. But when they came to the hazel tree, the little dove sat there and still sang, back again, look to the shoe. The shoe is too small and not made for you. Prince, prince, look again for thy bride, for she is not the true one that sits by thy side." Then he looked down and saw the blood that streamed so from the shoe that her white stockings were quite red. So he turned his horse and brought her back again also. "This is not the true bride," he said to the father. "Have you no other daughter?" "No," said he. "There is only a dirty little Cinderella here, the child of my first wife. I am sure she cannot be the bride." However, the prince told him to send her, but the mother said, No, she is much too dirty. She will not dare show herself." However, the prince would have her come. And first she washed her face and hands, and then went in and curtsied to him, and he reached her the golden slipper. Then she took her clumsy shoe off her left foot, put on the golden slipper, and it fitted her as if it had been made for her. When he drew near and looked at her face, he knew her and said, "This is the right bride." But the mother and both the sisters were frightened and turned pale with anger as he took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. When they came to the hazel tree, the white dove sang, "Home, home, look at the shoe. Princess, the shoe is made for you. Prince, prince, take home thy bride, for she is a true one that sits by thy side." And when the dove had done its song, it came flying and perched upon her right shoulder, and so went home with her. The end. I love you.